Hello NBA fans, and welcome back to another video here on the NBA The Week That Was. Last night we had one of the wildest drafts in NBA history. Things were all over the place, unexpected picks being made, trades happening such as Russell Westbrook to the Lakers. Ultimately, it was a great night for basketball fans like myself. Today I'll be reacting to the draft by grading each of the lottery picks and giving you guys my analysis of each of those lottery picks, which ones I found good, which ones I thought were reaches. And overall, you'll get a better understanding of the 2021 NBA draft class from this video. Let's get right into the first pick with Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham is one of the best prospects the draft has seen in this last decade, and the Pistons get an A for simply adding him to their roster. Cunningham is what Detroit has lacked for years and years, a true number one option. Cunningham has the highest floor and one of the highest ceilings in the draft. On the court, he's a versatile weapon, both on offense and defense. He has a great ability to create his own shot at any level, with a step back being one of his most lethal moves. But Cade also has great passing vision, both in transition as well as in the half court, allowing him to create for others. Cade will be the guy the Pistons go to in crunch time from game one because of his offensive arsenal. With Cade being 6'8", he is comfortable playing any position from 1 to 3 and is just as good with the ball as he is without it, making him a great fit with the Pistons' 2020 lottery pick, Killian Hayes. Defensively, Cade uses his size well by getting to the right spots and cutting passing lanes with ease. He always plays with energy and desire, and it really shows on the defensive end. Off the court, Cade has already shown his love for the city of Detroit and has been called a born leader by family, friends, teammates, and coaches. He is humble, mature, and has all the makings of an all-NBA player. Detroit has been blessed with Cade, thus earning them an A. With the second pick in the draft, Jalen Green was drafted by the Houston Rockets. If Jalen Green was in last year's draft class, he would have been picked number 1 overall. Simply put, he's a bucket. He has off-the-charts athleticism that he utilizes to blow by defenders and finish through contact. He has a great shooting touch that allows him to score at all 3 levels, just like Cade. Green also has a great handle. All in all, Green has the potential to become a perennial scoring champion in the NBA. There are some weaknesses to his game, however, that just don't exist with Cade. At times, Green has shown a superior ability to create for others, but it isn't something that is a consistent part of his game. Also, Green uses his athletic ability on defense to stay with guards, but he gambles a lot on defense and occasionally fails to buy into the defensive scheme. Green will fit in well as the alpha on this young and inexperienced Rockets team. He will get a lot of touches of the ball, and him and Kevin Porter Jr. can form one of the best scoring backcourts in the league in a couple of years. Some may argue that Green has an even higher ceiling than Cade, and I am in agreement with those individuals, thus making this a great pick for the Rockets and earning them an A. Evan Mobley, the third pick in the draft by the Cleveland Cavaliers, is the third guy in this draft class that arguably could have gone number 1 if it was a weaker draft class. Mobley is a 7-foot center who has the ability to stretch the floor, block shots at an astounding rate, and occasionally create offense for himself. He is the definition of a unicorn prospect. Mobley shot threes at a decent rate at USC, and a bit of tweaking to his jumper will make him even more efficient behind the arc, creating a defensive nightmare for the opposition. Mobley was also a great shot blocker in college. While he isn't the biggest body for a center, which is something he definitely needs to work on in the league, his defensive instincts and positioning allowed him to average 2.9 blocks a game. He also has the ability to switch and stay on smaller guards without getting blown by with ease. If he can fill his body out while maintaining that same agility and IQ, he will become a defensive stalwart. Finally, Mobley, despite being 7 foot, can put the ball on the floor and create his own shot. The way he moves and handles the ball is something that is just not seen at a guy who is 7 feet tall. Mobley does lack on the rebounding side of things, but that should improve if he adds more muscle. Ultimately, even with Jarrett Allen being at the center for the Cavs, they have earned themselves an A by making the right move of drafting Mobley and pairing him with the ascending Darius Garland and Colin Sexton to form a great trio for the future. Scottie Barnes, one of my favorite players in this draft class, was taken 4th by the Toronto Raptors. I'm a sucker for defense, and defense is what Scottie Barnes is. He is a 6'9" player with a 7-foot wingspan. He has the strength to guard the bigs and the agility to absolutely lock down any opposing wings or guards. He is a phenomenal on-ball defender and matches those on-ball skills with great instincts and energy off the ball. Overall, he is by far the best defender in this draft. Offensively, he brings great playmaking with his size. He is comfortable with the ball in his hands and has the knack to find the open man. He embraces the playmaking role and does it exceptionally well. Barnes does struggle to score the ball, however. He doesn't have a great touch around the rim and is even worse shooting the ball. An extreme like-for-like comparison is 2016 Draymond Green, who was one of the best players in the NBA at that time in my opinion. While many will knock the Raptors for not taking Jalen Suggs, who seemed to be the heir apparent to Lowry, I still give the Raptors an A- for this selection. The Raptors are clearly building for the future, and they have evidence of developing raw offensive wings into great scorers such as OG Anunoby and Pascal Siakam. Defensively, I don't think any team will get past Barnes and Anunoby on the perimeter anytime in the near future. Therefore, this is a great pick for the Raptors, even if it wasn't Suggs, and they get an A- for me. When the Orlando Magic were handed Jalen Suggs on a silver platter at the 5th pick in the draft, they made sure to capitalize on it. Suggs is the guy you want to lead your franchise out of a rebuild and into the playoff picture. Suggs is a tough cover on offense, especially with his quickness and handle that allows him to get to the rim with ease. He has a great touch around the rim and can finish strong due to his great athleticism. He has elite vision that definitely comes from his time as a 5-star quarterback recruit in Minnesota. He does have a streaky jump shot, but it isn't anything that can't be fixed by Orlando's developmental team. Suggs is a physical defender who loves a tough matchup. He has great hands and has the ability to stick with guys both smaller and bigger than him. My favorite aspect of Suggs is his leadership and confidence. He isn't afraid of the moment, which was evident with his game winner in the national championship against UCLA, and he is always motivating his team to do bigger and better things. This is a great pick for Orlando, even with their plethora of young point guards, and they get an A for this selection. I've only given out A's so far, but now is the time for our first B. The Oklahoma City Thunder took Josh Giddey with the 6th pick. Giddey is one of the youngest, most unproven players in the draft. He is still 18 and has a very raw game that he has only just started refining playing professionally in Australia. Some of his best strengths are his feel for the game and playmaking both on and off the ball. He is a very intelligent player who sees the court in a way not many at his age can, and he is always willing to make the cut and get in open space when the opportunity arises off the ball. The fact that he can be a lead ball handler at 6'9" can be very tantalizing for the Thunder. However, he has many weaknesses that will need to be ironed out immediately. Giddey is a very streaky shooter, and he isn't the most athletic guy, which leads to struggles with finishing and defense as well. Ultimately, Giddey was a project pick for the Thunder, which has seemed to become a trend for them. The reason I gave them a B is because I feel they could have made a shrewd move to trade down a couple of picks and still grab him while obtaining more draft capital in the process. If Giddey doesn't pan out, it'll be a risk the Thunder would regret taking because they have no reward whatsoever. The Warriors picking Jonathan Kuminga at pick 7 earns an A- in my books. Kuminga, like Giddey, is extremely young with an even higher ceiling. He is an athletic specimen and he uses that athleticism to perfection. Kuminga stands at 6'8" with a 7-foot wingspan. He is way more explosive than most guys his height, yet he still moves around like a guard. When engaged, he can be a multi-position defensive weapon because he has the footwork to stick with guards and the upper body strength to bang with the bigs. His shooting form doesn't look broken, but is extremely inconsistent. Inconsistent, unfortunately, is the word that describes Kuminga best. On his night, he is by far the best player on the court, scoring with ease and locking down anyone on the defensive end. But when he is switched off, he is extremely turnover prone, he can get tunnel vision on offense, and he doesn't commit defensively. Now, if the Warriors development team can work their magic, especially on the mental side and confidence side of things, Kuminga may turn into a top 3 player from this draft. But this pick becomes even better for the Warriors because they could potentially put him into trade talks to acquire a guy who could contribute now. This was a great pick for the Warriors. Franz Wagner to the Magic at 8 was one of my least favorite picks in the lottery. Wagner is a 6'9" forward whose biggest strength is his defense. He is quite versatile on that end, using his great instincts and footwork to keep up with guards, and he isn't afraid of embracing contact on that end. Offensively, he is a streaky shooter with a form that doesn't look like it would hold up in the NBA. He is a decent passer, but he really struggles to create his own shot. He is quite unathletic, which holds him back offensively, and ultimately, his ceiling offensively is a spot-up shooter with the occasional pick and roll as the ball handler. I understand that the Magic wanted some size given their guard depth, but I still would have opted for a guy like Moses Moody, who is a much better shooter and would work better with Suggs. Wagner just doesn't have the upside you want as a rebuilding team picking 8th, thus earning the Magic a C+ for this pick. Now, let's talk about my least favorite pick of the lottery and maybe even the first round. Davion Mitchell to the Kings at pick 9 makes zero sense. Now, this isn't a knock on Mitchell. Davion is a great player who I think will emerge as one of the best players from this class if he gets a better opportunity. He's one of the best defensive point guard prospects we've seen in a while. He'll contribute on that end from day one and will only grow with his evident hunger and desire to get better. Offensively, he is quick and can get to the bucket with ease. He has a decent looking jump shot and is always looking to make the right play. He really doesn't have many weaknesses besides his lack of height and length. Ultimately, this is a horrible pick because of the roster that the Kings have. They currently have De'Aaron Fox as their franchise player, who starts at the point guard and is too small to move up to the 2. They have 2020 standout draft pick Tyrese Halliburton as a combo guard, and they have 6'4" Buddy Hield, who is getting $20 million a year. That's 3 guys who are going to be ahead of Mitchell. Why would you waste this pick on a guy who has no clear path to playing meaningful minutes on your roster this year when there are big guys like Alper and Schengen just waiting there for you? I truly think the Kings messed up and they have prevented a promising start to Davion Mitchell's career, thus earning them a low C- and even a D+. Zaire Williams to the Grizzlies at pick 10 is a selection that has grown on me in the last 24 hours. Williams had top 5 potential, but he struggled mightily at Stanford, thus tanking his stock. Williams has guard-like skills in his 6'8" frame. He is quick, agile, and finishes with a soft touch at the rim. When it's going well, Williams can score at all 3 levels while being comfortable as a ball handler in the pick and roll as well. He is a strong on-ball defender and can make interceptions like a safety on an NFL field off the ball. Ultimately, it's Williams' inconsistency which lowered his stock. He could look very streaky and turnover prone on nights, and he isn't the strongest by any means, which is a weakness that is very easily exploited in the NBA. The Grizzlies swung on a high upside pick that will be a great fit with franchise star Ja Morant if he lives up to the potential, but it will take time and effort from the development team for that to come true. I also think Memphis could have traded up only to pick 13 or 14 instead of pick 10 to get Williams, but I still give them a B for this selection. James Bouknight to the Hornets at pick 11 was an unexpected selection. Bouknight was rumored to go as high as pick 6 to the Thunder, but ended up with Charlotte. I personally am a big fan of Bouknight's game. He is a tremendous athlete who can finish thunderously at the rim and can get good buckets through contact. While it didn't show in college, Bouknight is a great shooter who isn't afraid to let it fly from deep. He also has elite vision that makes him almost unstoppable in the half court. Ultimately, Bouknight is one of the best offensive weapons in the draft, and he has only shown glimpses on defense, but when he locks in, he can use his 6'5" body against smaller guards due to his quickness and mobility. Bouknight will fit well as a scorer next to LaMelo Ball. Ball's obvious strength is his playmaking, and Bouknight will certainly benefit from that. He'll also be a great option to run the offense when LaMelo sits. Bouknight's arrival will probably signal the end of either the Terry Rozier or Devontae Graham era in Charlotte, but I think it was a great pick by the Hornets nonetheless, earning them an A-. Joshua Primo, the youngest player in the draft, was slated to go early in the second round. He ended up being the 12th pick in the draft. This was probably the second most questionable decision after the Mitchell fiasco in Sacramento. Primo had a rough year as a freshman at Alabama, struggling with efficiency and only showing flashes of his talent. He is a great athlete with quick change of pace, and his greatest strength is his shooting both off the dribble and on the catch. He'll also be able to use his athleticism and high motor to be a decent defender. Primo is just way too young, way too inexperienced, and way too inconsistent to be picked in the lottery. San Antonio is always notorious for being the odd ones out in the draft, but I think they could have accumulated even more assets and moved down while still grabbing Primo. Ultimately, this selection receives a C from me. While the 24-year-old Chris Duarte is the oldest guy in this draft, it was a great pickup for the Pacers at 13 nonetheless. Duarte is definitely a top 3 shooter in this draft. He can create threes for himself and knock them down as a catch and shoot guy. He is decent with the ball in his hands and can run the pick and roll effectively. He relies on his instincts more than anything on the defensive end, but he's good at it. He can struggle with more physical matchups defensively and will never be a great stopper. Ultimately, there isn't much upside given he is 24, but the Pacers get a guy that can contribute right away in the new Rick Carlisle-led system, thus earning them a B from me. Finally, we have the last pick in the lottery, Moses Moody going 14th to the Warriors. This was one of my favorite selections of the draft. Moody's yet another efficient 3-level scorer with an arsenal and a shooting form that should translate nicely to the league. Moody is also physically gifted with a 7-foot wingspan while just standing 6'6". He uses his length to be a disruptor on the defensive end, which makes up for his lack of athleticism. He does have the tendency to check out of games and can go through periods where he isn't impactful. But if Golden State decides to keep him, he will be great as a complementary scorer to Stephen Curry while feeding off of Draymond Green's passing. Moody is a guy the Warriors thought they might need to draft at 7, but they got him at 14, making this selection earn an A-. And with that, I would like to conclude this video here on the NBA the week that was. I hope you guys got a greater understanding of the draft lottery that occurred this year, and you're excited to see these guys in the league. Let me know what you think. Who's your favorite prospect? Who's your least favorite prospect? And we'll have a conversation in the comments. I'll catch you guys on my next video here on the NBA the week that was. See ya.